Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Anger is growing in Karnataka and the rest of the country over the go slow in the action against prominent Lingayat Seer, Shivamurthy Muruga Sharana. Despite being booked under two of the most stringent IPC sections, POCSO and atrocities against SC/STs, there has been no arrest of the seer or any other arrest in this case 1 week post the FIR. There is absolutely no denying that this is because of the influential background of the accused, especially the Mutt head seer, and because of the possible fallout of an arrest. There could be severe backlash from the supporters, as we've seen in similar cases in the past, and politically the BJP government could lose the support of the community. But literally no other party wants to speak openly about this case either. The usually ultra-vocal opposition that questions what is not even an action or inaction of the government is quiet. After all, elections are nigh. The Karnataka police issued a lookout notice against the seer today, while another accused from the Mutt was detained for questioning. But are these minor actions just a way to buy time? Because meanwhile, the seer himself has applied for an anticipatory bail that could be decided tomorrow. The big question remains, is politics ultimately holding the wheels of justice? Politically speaking, all sides have been eerily muted over this case. If we look at the stance that has been taken by the government, Baswaraj Bommai has only just said that the police have been given full freedom and the truth will come out. But the police has taken no action really. The BJP has said there is no truth to this, that is the allegations, and the seer will come out clean. That's a statement made by former Chief Minister, himself a strong Lingayat leader. Congress has said he's a noble man who has worked for the state, that is DK Shivkumar, seeming to be backing the accused in this case. JDS too has said that the government must deal with this case sensitively. So nobody really wants to touch this hot potato, and all this pussyfooting is happening because of the might of the Lingayats in the state. Remember, the Lingayats constitute anywhere between 15 to 17% of Karnataka's population. 9 ministers in the present cabinet are from this section, including the current chief minister. 58 MLAs have been elected in 2018 belonging to this community into the assembly, and Lingayats can determine the election outcome in as many as 90 to 100 seats. So the big debate that's coming up today, Lingayat Seer is still free? Are leaders keeping mum because of elections that are near in Karnataka?
That the delay has been made in this whole investigative process too. Why is there no justice that has been given to this the Dalit community, and specifically that the 2 minor girls are involved in this whole incident? But this is not just one in protest that we are getting to see. There has been an immediately continuous protests that are taking place in the Chitradurga. Complete injustice that is happening. So that's the kind of a word that is been.
Investigation is going on. Let investigation report come out. Arresting, non-arresting is not the issue. Investigation should be proper. I hope the Karnataka government and Karnataka police are doing the proper investigation.
So they have all get out here. They are not letting the vehicle to move from here. Now you see the DC herself had to get out of the vehicle here. Is coming towards these protesters, trying to speak to them somewhere around. So she is trying to pacify the protesters.
Let us go across to our guest joining us. Siddharth Bhupati is one of the petitioners who's gone to court wanting a court-monitored probe in this case. I'm also joined by Sanket Yanagi, KPCC spokesperson. With me will be more guests in just a bit. But Siddharth, I'm coming to you first up. What made you go to the court? Was it the fact that after 1 week also in a POCSO case, no arrest has taken place and it looks like the police is not intending to arrest the seer anytime soon?
Yes, certainly, because the initially FIR was filed on 26/8, and even after lapse of almost a week now, there is no arrest or medical examination conducted of the accused number one in the particular FIR, or the accused number one has not even been summoned, whereas the victim girls.
Looks like I've lost the link with the petitioner. We'll try and go back across to Siddharth in just a bit. Siddharth, are you back with us?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, please continue and we'll fix your frame in the meantime. Continue.
Yeah, so the medical examination of the victims has been conducted. The 164 statement, which is a due procedure, is being followed. Whereas in respect of the accused, none of the procedures are being followed. And the offenses we are speaking about here are of grave and heinous nature, which are considered as offenses against the society at large. Against the society at large. These are not the offenses committed against the individual alone. So such being the heinous and grave nature of the offenses leveled against the accused number one, the way the investigation is going on clearly shows.
Siddharth, I'm facing some issue with your link. If you could please sort it out in the meantime, I'll try and come back to you in just a bit. Savio Rodriguez, founder and editor-in-chief of Goa Chronicles, is also joining us. Acharya Vikramaditya is a religious preacher, also with us. Savio, the BJP government in the state, very rightfully facing questions. While it is a reality that no politician in the state wants to upset the Lingayat community, and I've just run some of the statements that have come from across political lines. The responsibility currently lies with the BJP government. The police is under them. They are the government in power. They must not only act, but be seen to be acting.
You know, Shivani, in most cases, when the issue is pertaining to a religious leader, as we had seen even in the Bishop Franco Mulakal's case, every system, whether it is the political system, whether it is the police system, or whether it is people that follow that particular belief, there is always a reaction to a religious leader. Now, the real issue here is, does a religious leader have impunity against allegations of such a heinous nature, you know, when these allegations are leveled against them? And I find it absolutely strange. And this has got nothing to do with BJP or the Congress or any political party. All political parties behave the same manner, in which, when there is, in way that's happening now, when we have a religious leader involved in the crime accused, right? So in the Bishop Franco Mulakal's case, you saw that certain sections of the government over there, you know, were in support of Bishop Franco Mulakal. You had certain people, members of the church, who actually went and hugged him when he came out. So there is an absolute depravity, I must say, when people who follow a particular religion cannot distinguish between a crime or an allegation of a crime vis-a-vis the matter of faith. And in matters of law, when it comes to law versus faith, it is the law that is far superior than any other faith.
Absolutely. The law has to be supreme. Vikramaditya is also joining us. Please respond to what Savio is saying. ये कोई नहीं कह रहा कि ये सिर्फ हिंदू धर्म के जो गॉडमैन हैं उनके खिलाफ अगर कंप्लेंट होती है तो ही ये होता है. ये उन्होंने एग्जांपल दिया है, बिशप फ्रैंको मुलकल के केस में भी हुआ. हमने देखा है पंजाब में भी ऐसा एक सिमिलर केस था. उनके प्रोटेस्टर्स भी तो वो तो राइटिंग कर रहे थे सड़कों पे, उनके ऊपर तो गोलियां भी चलाई गई थी. लेकिन रिलीजन अपनी जगह है, फेथ अपनी जगह है, और मैं ये भी कहती हूँ कि कोई अक्यूज्ड गिल्टी नहीं है जब तक कि प्रोसेस ऑफ लॉ कंप्लीट नहीं होता. लेकिन गवर्नमेंट को एक्शन तो लेना पड़ेगा ना. सिर्फ ये कह देना कि कोई कंस्पिरेसी है, उसका मतलब ये नहीं कि एक्शन नहीं होगा.
We are not against the action. We clearly say this thing that the action should be taken, but we have to even see this thing in previous time also. Various people, personalities have been accused. Take the example of Jain Saraswati, Shankaracharya ji. How many kinds of allegations were made against him? And at the last, when the inquiry was conducted and inquiry was conducted, the truth came before the people.
But there have been others against whom the charges have been verified also. They have been convicted also.
Who was convicted?
There are other gurus
Jain
who've been
Saraswati was never
convicted.
convicted. No. अब फर्स्ट बेसिकली अभी तो कोर्ट के सामने जाके अभी इंक्वायरी चालू हुई है.
नहीं,
कोर्ट
इस
के
केस
सामने
में
जाके
नहीं,
उन्होंने
मैं कह
बोला
रही
अभी
हूँ
केस
आप
चल
पुराने
रही है.
केस बता रहे हैं. पुराने केसेस में ऐसे भी केसेस हुए हैं जिसमें गॉडमैन, गुरुज या क्लर्जी के मेंबर्स को कन्विक्ट भी किया गया है.
तो आप बिल्कुल कम पॉलिटिकली बहुत सारे गेम्स भी होते हैं जिस प्रकार से जबरदस्ती लोगों को फंसाया जाता है और जिस प्रकार से स्वामी जी के
that cannot be applied to every case. In the Bishop Mulakal's case, in Father Robin Okraj's case, everybody said it's a conspiracy. Father Robin Okraj is in jail now. Father Robin Okraj is in jail now. Father Johnson is in jail now. But why is it when a religious leader is involved, the pure politicians, the people who belong to that particular faith, why is it that they come out in support? Is a religious leader above the law?
Okay, let him respond now. Let him respond now. Savio, let him respond.
Go ahead and molest a vulnerable adult or a child.
These
Everybody
are very
comes
serious
up with an
allegations, and the
excuse.
first point
Everyone is making an excuse that there are exceptions to
these
what
are
is
very
happening.
serious allegations.
There
We
are
have to
reasons
take
why
emphasis
people
on
are doing
everything,
this.
but you can't.
The fact of the matter
अभी
is
law
there
का
is a
डिसीजन
case
आने
that's
दीजिए साहब.
registered.
अभी law
There
का
is an
डिसीजन आने
investigation.
दीजिए ना.
Please allow for the
बहुत सारे केस
investigation to
ऐसे देखे कि
continue.
गलत से गलत आदमी
Please
आदमी
allow for
बनते
the
हैं.
investigation to
अभी
continue.
आने दीजिए. अभी डिसीजन आने दीजिए. मीनवाइल स्वामी जी को भी
Please
पोस्ट
allow
से
for the
रिजाइन करना
investigation
चाहिए.
to continue. Stop spreading misinformation that they are the target. Just because a religious leader is involved. I remember in the Bishop Franco Mulakal's case, the nuns were almost oppressed by the kind of allegations that were leveled against them. That they wanted money.
I'm not
that
able
they
to
are
hear you
doing
properly.
this for various other reasons. Is that the normal way you'll behave? What if it was your
Now,
family member?
Savio, let him respond now, please. Let him have his turn.
मुझे आवाज नहीं आ रही साहब से क्या बोल रहे हैं.
मेरे सवाल का जवाब दीजिए. मेरे सवाल का जवाब दीजिए जो मैंने आपसे पूछा था.
देखिए बिल्कुल अभी किसी के खिलाफ भी एलिगेशन लग सकता है, उसको प्रूव होने दीजिए.
नहीं, प्रूफ तो बाद में होता है, लेकिन ये पॉक्सो एक्ट में तो अरेस्ट तो होना चाहिए. वो तो मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट है.
बिल्कुल अगर अरेस्ट बनती है तो बिल्कुल होना चाहिए. मैं कहूँगा स्वामी जी को रिजाइन करना चाहिए. लेकिन इस प्रकार के हमने बहुत सारे एलिगेशन देखे हैं कि पहले पॉलिटिकल मोटिव्स के द्वारा एलिगेशन लगाए जाते हैं. स्वामी जी की जिस प्रकार की पोजीशन है,
बोलिए.
और वो सारे जिस प्रकार से स्वामी जी की पोजीशन है, वहां पर स्वामी जी ने किस प्रकार से क्या क्या काम किया है, राहुल गांधी को लिंगायत के अंदर अडॉप्ट करा दिया है. बहुत सारे जो पॉलिटिकल गेम्स है वहां चलते रहते हैं. और इस देश में हमने पहले भी देखा है कि बहुत सारे एलिगेशन लगे हैं और बहुत सारे बड़े बड़े लोगों पे लगे हैं. अभी प्रूव होने दीजिए. लेकिन स्वामी जी को मैं चाहूंगा बिल्कुल रिजाइन करना चाहिए उस पोस्ट पे नहीं बने रहना चाहिए. इतना सीरियस एलिगेशन उनके खिलाफ लगा है तो बिल्कुल उनको रिजाइन करना चाहिए.
Okay, the petitioner Siddharth is back with us. Siddharth, just for the benefit of our viewers, just tell us what your demands is, because you know this case is still at a nascent stage. It cannot be said that a lot of time has elapsed, although the arrest has not happened as far as this case is concerned. Can we go to Siddharth, please? But still, what is your demand as far as your petition is concerned?
See, our prayer is we are seeking the Honorable High Court to intervene immediately and monitor the investigation, which is not going on in a free and a fair manner. Because it is the practice whenever a FIR has been registered under POCSO, and even 376 has been invoked in this matter. So, although POCSO does not speak about the procedure for arrest, the CRPC shall be followed, and the POCSO and the kind of allegations leveled against the accused number 1 in this present case are of very grave and heinous nature. So such being the case, the accused number 1 ought to have been, if he were a common man, he would have been arrested the very next moment the FIR was registered. Point number 1.
Right.
If not for arrest, at least the least the investigating agency could have done is summoning and recording his statements, as well as medical examination. Medical examination of a rape accused is a very important ingredient, which is formulated under 53A of CRPC. And Section 41 categorically states about the arrest of an accused without a warrant. Although
there is no specific provision which says immediate arrest
Right.
of the accused upon filing of the FIR. It is the practice, and the POCSO Act in the year 2012 was legislated for such heinous crimes against the minors.
So there is a little bit of clarity that is missing, and after speaking to many legal experts, you know, there is still a point of concern whether the arrest needs to be done within 24 hours in such cases, the POCSO cases, in other words, immediately, as you said, or whether an arrest is mandatory. Siddharth,
no
you're an
law
advocate
as
as
such.
well.
No
So
law
where
as
do you
such.
think the legal
POCSO
distinction is?
POCSO, being a substantive law, does not speak about the procedures. But the procedures under CRPC have to be followed. The 24 hours theory is upon the arrest of the accused, he shall be produced before the magistrate within 24 hours. But upon filing of FIR, Section 41 says, in absence of warrant, without a warrant, a police officer may arrest the accused, on receipt of a complaint or registration of an FIR.
So see, that's the loophole that looks like the police is exploiting in this case, because I was always wondering why the police is not acting the manner in which all of us expect it is, because tomorrow it goes to court, the court will lambast them. So I'm sure they're covering their tracks, but there is a loophole here, isn't it?
Exactly. Section 41 does not, the word shall is not used, the word may is used.
Right.
So it is the discretion of the police officer. But having said that, the practice is that for such heinous and grave nature offences, these offences are not just against the individuals.
It is against the
These
state.
heinous and grave nature offences, time and again, the Apex Court has very clearly said and observed that these are the offences as against the society at large.
Okay, I've got a former police officer actually joining me on the show, Nirmal Kaur. Nirmal Kaur, don't you think in this case, as a former IPS officer, while the law may not mandate that there must be an immediate arrest, in this case there should have been an immediate arrest? Or is the police playing safe, looking at the sensitivity of the issue, and is that also something that they should do or do? That's just the reality. Where do you stand?
No, you know, if the case is true, the allegations leveled are of a very, very grave nature. If the case is prima facie true, action should have been taken, especially the medical report, because the medical evidence is lost, you know, as time elapses. So it has to be soon, very soon after the thing, you know. And then, you know, another thing is, if anything, police should be more conscientious, because the fellow is a guru. Guru, you know, the highest relationship. Yeah. He's in fiduciary relationship. You know, as we say, when there's a rape in police custody, we punish it with twice the thing. Similarly, you know, I think this is the position where he held a position of trust and he abused it. He abused that trust, and it should have been done in a very quick manner, and they should get justice quickly. And I think police are dilly-dallying, maybe because he's a guru, maybe for, you know, if he's a spiritual guru, he should not be indulging in all this. And that means he's a fake guru. We've seen any number of them. We saw the Asaram Bapu's case, we saw Ram Rahim, I mean any number of them. You can count any number of such cases. These gurus, you know, they just pretend to be gurus, but they are bad people at heart.
Well, let's not pronounce judgment in this case. I think we'll have to just be careful of that. But Nirmal Kaur, I'm going to come back to you. I haven't gone across to Sanket Yanagi, but before that, Siddharth Bhupati, my final question to you before I let you go. Do you believe some intervention will take place in this case for you? Because, you know, even as we speak, the next 24, 48 hours are very crucial. Any amount of action could be taken. So how soon are you hoping for a court-monitored probe that you've gone to court for? And do you believe that will be granted? Siddharth? All right, we seem to have lost him. Sanket Yanagi, let me come to you. The opposition's role is also to keep the government in power honest, but it seems like the opposition is also very cleverly playing to its own gallery and keeping quiet because it too wants to not upset the Lingayat community or the Mutt here.
It is not a correct allegation at all. It is not acceptable. Firstly, let me answer this question. There are two types of allegations, two complaints in fact. One is against a Seer alleging molestation or a rape, and another one is by the management of the temple alleging kidnapping. Those two are running into different dimensions opposite to each other. And secondly, the incident which has been alleged to have taken place relates back to more than 1 year ago. That's around 3 years. And there is admittedly more than 3 years delay in lodging of the complaint, in both the complaints. And the complaint only specifies about the allegations, no evidence acceptable has been produced along with the complaint. So that being the case, it is a responsible duty on the police officer to investigate the crime with all the evidences. He has to investigate from both the angles, whether the allegation against the Seer is having credible information or the evidence available to arrest the Seer, or whether the evidence which is available in the other complaint as against
But that
the
other
kidnapping and
complaint,
all.
Sanket Yanagi, that you talk about seems to be have also come across as a counter FIR and as an afterthought. After the first FIR was registered.
But there are two complaints, both have to be investigated.
No, but even there was a lapse. No, there was a gap of a few days between the first FIR of molestation and sexual assault and the second FIR. Even in those 2-3 days, no action was taken.
That is what we are saying. BJP has to answer this. The government has to answer this.
But you also seem to be supporting the go slow.
No. That is what I'm saying. The government has to answer this question, not the opposition. Number one.
No, but my question to you is, as the opposition, it is your job also to keep the government honest, right? You jump into all kinds of issues in the state. In this case, the Congress or the JDS doesn't want to come in. You've been seen to be backing the Seer here.
No, we have been very clear that a free and fair investigation must be conducted. There is no second point on that.
No, so do you believe he should have been arrested by now or not?
Nobody is above law. And insofar as the arrest is concerned, it's always the discretionary power of the investigation officer. And we cannot say or we cannot compel the investigation officer to arrest or not to arrest. If we see so, then we will be indulging in interference in the administration.
But in many other cases, you say so.
The responsible opposition.
No, but in many other cases, you say so. You come in very much.
That is what it is a case. It is entirely a different case wherein there are allegations and counter allegations.
There are many other cases like that.
What is not correct?
Virtually everybody accused in public, anybody accused of sexual assault, rape or crimes against women says it's a conspiracy. Isme kya nahi baat hai?
If at all it was only one complaint, our answer, our agitation should have been straightforward. But that is not the case here. There are two allegations.
That second complaint, Sanket Yanagi, was filed precisely because it's a counter FIR. That can be done. But that doesn't change the severity of the first FIR.
That we agree. That is why we are saying the police has to come out early. And the Home Minister has to hold a press conference on that.
Let Savio come in. Savio, it is quite clear that virtually every political party is playing safe because of the influence of the Lingayat community and because of the elections coming.
Well,
no, it is incorrect.
Unfortunately, that's the truth, and it's extremely sad. And I'll tell you why it's sad. And this has got nothing to do with any religion. You could be a seer, you could be a priest, you could be a mullah, you could be a sadhu. The point of the matter is when people put their trust and their faith in you, especially young children, if you misuse that, and there are allegations of you misusing that trust, abusing that trust, then in the fairness of the religious beliefs that you come from and the religious position that you have as a spiritual leader, shouldn't you not have the conscience to go ahead and work with the investigative agency to prove those allegations wrong? Why is it that members of different religious orders, Hindus, Christians, Muslims, when a religious leader is brought to task and questioned about molestation, the believers come and start creating this greatness aura over these religious leaders, and the people who are alleging the crime are actually left to be victimized further? Why can it not be the other way around? Why can't these leaders, the spiritual leaders, for example, in the Bishop Franco Mulakil's case, the nun came to the church for a year and a half at different levels, bringing her complaints, but not a single church leader at that point
has
of time
ever supported
even
her
listened to a
till
complaint.
today.
Right? She went all the way to the Vatican.
Yes.
She then went to the Kerala police and filed the case. He got acquitted by the lower court, but the high court is still looking at the case. The point is why? Why was she victimized? Why are these people victimized? A spiritual leader is a spiritual leader. I give it. And you have every right to believe in him or her. But why? How does that change the allegation if it was for a common man.
Can I go across to Nirmal Kaur? Ramaswamy Mayappan is an advocate also joining us. Nirmal Kaur, in this case, as one of our guests said, the allegations are of a period gone by. The complaint is not quite immediate. And it is also over a period of time, as we have seen in many such cases that come to light, including Franco Mulakal's case. Now, usually the question is raised as to why the complaint is late, although we can understand as ordinary beings how difficult it is for women to make up their minds, especially minors, that they will go ahead with the complaint. You know, the whole system and the power equation is so against them in such situations. But I want to understand from you as an IPS officer, how difficult will it be for the police to even make a case in this case? Because as you said, medical evidence, etc. has to be more immediate. This is a case of over a period of time, and that to an elapsed period of time.
You know, when you wield a position of authority, it is very difficult to muster courage to go against you. And here, you know, so many times you see incest or many things are happening over the years. And they, you know, they see after years they come out, if at all they come out.
Yes.
So similarly, this person's power, you know, the power balance is such that the victim is hapless in front of this big, you know, seer. In front of, he wields such authority, such power, such a position in the group, in the society, that it's very difficult to make even an allegation against. Maybe to gather that courage, it took years to gather the courage to come out against him. And
but ma'am, how difficult do you think will be, you know, just launching an investigation and making a tight case in this case, given the nature of the allegations, you know, being over a period of time?
Because I see no reason to distrust the version of the victim, because I mean, like, I'm sure it is not a fake allegation. And at least the medical examination will show many things. It's not an immediate rape. At least if she's habituated to that kind of behavior, of she's a virgin, all that can be very easily established. And I think it makes out a good case for investigation.
Okay.
And
you feel confident that if the police's heart is right, and if it is done right, then a tight case can be made against the seer.
Culprit will get to see the...
Okay.
You know,
Ramaswamy Mayappan has joined us a little bit late, but what's your view? As an advocate, first of all, has the police not been guilty of not following appropriate procedure, even if they're not bound by law, as some of our lawyer, you know, panelists are suggesting? There is a loophole, but should they have not arrested the seer immediately to set the right precedent, to ensure there is no victim threatening, no abuse of power, no, you know, alteration with the evidences? And secondly, given the nature of the allegations, how strong a case do you think can be made out legally?
Okay, so I'll go on step by step. First, on the, I don't have the very specifics of the case, how the investigation is going, except for what all of us have in the public domain. So with that, I don't want to get to the extent of blaming the law enforcement agency. My general instinct is to first trust the law enforcement agency in what they're doing and how they're proceeding forward. So that I will keep. Keeping that as my caveat, I will go ahead and say there are two things that I find faulty here. One is not in the arrest, but in the delay in the investigation process in itself, in terms of the questioning. Through the CWC, the Child Welfare Committee, there was questioning that did take place, but complete questioning and subsequent evidence handling, subsequent inquiries of other parties has been delayed, which is something in a POCSO matter will have to be done within 30 days and 120 days. So it's very time bound. And the time that they've taken already is much beyond what's provided under the Act. That's one. Two is that in terms of how they're handling public issues, in terms of handling the second complaint, they can't use that as a cover to saying that is why there is delay in handling the first complaint. Both are two independent complaints. In fact, there are two separate investigative teams to handle them. Two investigating agencies or investigating officers should be able to identify matters independently. They can't use one as a escape route for the other. Right. That's the second reason. But now going on the issue of arrest is not mandatory. I think one of the other speakers also clearly said arrest is the option of the investigating agency if the person is not cooperating. So if there is no cooperation, if they do not participate in the investigation, if they do not participate in the questioning and so on, then there is a necessity to seek arrest. And you can do that through the court or independently in an offense of this nature in a cognizable matter. You can take the arrest on your own and then produce him in court after all.
Ramaswamy Mayappan, we believed, and some experts are saying that in POCSO, an arrest must happen.
It is not mandatory even on that. think the inquiry is mandatory, the investigation is mandatory. The extent of the inquiry leading to the primary accused is also necessary.
Okay.
That it's an earlier delay. That I'm not in doubt with. Arrest is never mandatory. The Supreme Court has repeatedly said
And how
arrest
confident?
is not a given.
Okay, and how confident are you that given that these allegations precede a certain amount of time and they are also over a period of time,
True.
how
Yeah.
easy or difficult is it to make a tight case in such a matter?
Okay. So, two things. With POCSO, there is already a presumption of guilt under Section 29 and 30.
Yes.
So, therefore, it is not like other criminal matters where the prosecution will have to prove the case and say that so-and-so is guilty. Here now, it's for the accused to come out and demonstrate that they are not guilty. Therefore, I think the presumption relatively to other criminal matters here is not going to be that hard for the investigation. What the investigation across the come under the POCSO. What can a minimal verbal language that was used, which is not appropriate, all the way to a physical assault, to penetration, everything without permission is included under the POCSO Act. So it is for the law enforcement agency to be able to demonstrate each stage and each issue independently. If they can do that in their inquiry process and file a final report, then I think it shouldn't be a hard case, because then it is for the defense to actually demonstrate. And what happens within closed room and other restricted spaces will be very hard to demonstrate.
All right, I have to leave it at that. Let's just see what action is taken. Clearly, there is a loophole that the police is also exploiting, and therefore they're confident enough that nothing can happen, even if they don't arrest the seer immediately, which hasn't happened. Moving on.